What can we say about 1963? One of the things we can say is that 1963, Yuma High School was the state champion wrestling team. Give them a round of applause. All of us being involved in athletics understand how difficult it is to win a state championship. It takes so many things that have to all come together at the right time, at the right place, with the right people. And when it all happens, something magical happens that's yours for the rest of your life, and you can share it with all the generations that will come after you. And in 1963, this Yuma High School criminal wrestling team not only was the state champions, they were also undefeated in every dual match they had. They were undefeated in every tournament they went to. They were undefeated in all the regional championships they were involved in. What a great team they had. Give them a round of applause. Coach Patterson, what do you have, Coach Patterson? Here he comes. I'll tell you what, I want to talk a little bit before Coach Patterson comes up. Wrestling is a tough sport. It takes so much mentally and physically from you. I never wrestled in my life, right? And I really didn't understand. I remember going to wrestling matches and watching them. It wasn't until I was watching my fourth son, Trey, at a 7th grade wrestling match. He wanted to wrestle. I wanted him to play basketball. He was out on the match, and he's wrestling against a guy from San Luis, and they're out there struggling, and he pins him. And all that, I couldn't have any words come out of my mouth, but the tears that were coming down my face to watch my son, his self, his man, against another man's will, to overcome everything that was out there. No teammates, nobody, just you and another man. And it was the struggle of wills, and he came out on top. I was so proud of that moment. I didn't know what to think, but I was overjoyed with this emotion. So I understand how serious this is here today, and will forever be grateful for your commitment. Coach Patterson here, I'd like you to introduce your team, okay?
Yes. Chuck Southward, would you come up, please, assistant coach, and will all the wrestlers from the 63 team come up, please? A very wise person told me one time that when you're called upon to give a speech, you want to have a very good beginning and a very good conclusion. And the closer you can have the two together, the better is your speech. I'm going to try real hard to do that, but it's awfully hard to do that when I look back at the team. I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee, Yuma High School. I had many wonderful years here, and the many fine young men that went through my team made a tremendous impression on me. And this particular team, I knew that I had a special team, and I'll explain the story that will tell you about it. Picture Christmas vacation, 1962. I didn't want my team to get out of shape. I wanted to keep them in shape. So I scheduled a practice when they were gone on Christmas vacation. As it turned out, I decided to go duck hunting early that morning, and the wind came up and blew my decoys all over the place. And by the time I gathered them up, I got to the high school here, a half hour late. I didn't expect to find anybody here. I expected when the team got here and their coach wasn't here to open the place up for them, they'd go home. But they had talked one of the custodians into letting them in. I went into the practice room, and there was my team, dripping wet with sweat. They had started practice on time without me. They were working out hard, and I knew then I had a special team on my hands. And they were special. I'd like to mention a couple of funny stories, but an inspirational one. In addition to Curly Falk, who was state champion, Joe DeCourcy was also state champion and was voted outstanding wrestler in the state tournament that year. And they both were very deserving. But I've got to tell you a couple of funny stories. An exceptional athlete like Curly Falk only comes along once in a while. And you would be surprised, or not surprised, to find that on my team, we didn't have anybody to wrestle Curly in practice. What do you do with somebody like that? So it fell upon Coach Southward and myself to try to wrestle with Curly in practice. I still have a little piece of loose cartilage in my chest, thanks to Curly. But I got to tell you this funny story. One day, Curly was a fine student, a fine young man, and one day he came up to me after practice and he said, "Coach, I don't want to complain too much or anything, but he said, it seems like when you or Coach Southward are wrestling me and the other one's blowing the whistle, that the one wrestling me starts before the whistle blows." And I said to him, "Well, Curly, you're right." I said, "We don't have a chance in hell unless we get a jump on you." So I admitted that we were kind of cheating in order to give him some competition in practice. Another story that's funny, back in those days there were just 2 high schools in town, and Copa had a fine wrestling program. And we were going to wrestle them the following weekend. Well, we had been up in Phoenix to wrestle a school up there, and we hurried back so that we could scout the Copa team that we were going to wrestle the next week. And as we walked into the Copa High Gymnasium, the place was packed, and standing room only. And as my team starts to file in, people in the audience recognize my team. And the hubbub, because the match hadn't started yet, kind of got quiet. And then out of the stands, this lone voice yelled, "Did you guys win up there?" And Darrell Fassett, in his inimitable fashion, stepped forward and said, "Hey, does the sun come up in the morning?" All these years since then, I've remembered that story, and I smile every time I think of it. Anyway, let's see. We have Tim Rooney here. One of the things that athletics imparts to you, and I think Yuma did a fine job in imparting the idea of service. Tim volunteered 3 times, not once, not twice, 3 times to go serve in Vietnam. His nickname was Mad Dog Rooney. And Duke Spelt, standing right behind him, raise your hand, Duke, he had to wrestle with him every day in practice. And so I told Duke after he placed at the state tournament, I said, "Have you thanked him for that?" And Curly, state champion. My eyesight's not too good. Richard Moran, Chuck Southward, my assistant coach, Keith Ius, Darrell Fassett, Bill Butler, and some of the guys, unfortunately, have passed on or not with us here today. And they were a fine bunch of young men, and I was honored to have the privilege to coach them. Thank you for your
Let me do a little bit right here. Billy Cope, state champ. Tim Rooney, third place. Walter Paris, second place. Daryl Fassett, third place. Richard Moran, third place. Donnie Fergoso, Jim Power, Joe DeCourse was the state champ. Jim Butler, Richard Sulpa took second place. Duke Spells took second place. Keith Ehus, Coach Patterson, also like to recognize that during the state championship, Joe DeCourse was the outstanding wrestler of the tournament. He's also an undefeated wrestler that season. I'm going to turn the microphone over to you guys right here.
I'd just like to say how proud I am to have been associated with these guys, and we owe it all to Coach Patterson.
That's very true. We owe everything to Coach Patterson. It was a life-changing experience for me, coming from the Yuma Valley with Duke Spells. And we came up and we joined the team, and that was a decision that really changed my life. And I'd like to thank Richard here and Bill. They let me beat up on them in practice all the time. We used to have challenge matches, and we would practice every day. So these two guys, love to death. I really do. I'd like to just also say, yesterday we were privileged to meet with Jeff, the new wrestling coach, and it was very impressive. That young man, if he talks to Coach Patterson, gets a few tips, he's going to go places. And we're going to be national or state champions again, no doubt in my mind. But thank you for everybody, and it's been a life-changing experiences for me.
Well, one of the things about Yuma High, we had the road. Everybody, all the schools, they were really impressed with this. They made fun of us because of the road. But until we started wrestling, then they understood. And in honor of Joe Burrow DeCourse, I'm going to donate this robe to the school. He was instrumental to the football, to the wrestling team. And I'm accepting the award for Joe here too. But this robe, I'm donating it to the school. And one of the things about wrestling, I wrestled for 6 minutes, but my mom, she wrestled for every guy there. She would go like this. I couldn't help anybody who was next to her because she was tight. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So this is one thing we want. No more initiation of wrestling. Thank you.
Like the team would like to express my appreciation to Coach Patterson. I think early in the that year, Coach Patterson came to me and he said, "I need an assistant wrestling coach." And I said, "Gosh, Coach, I don't know anything about wrestling." And I didn't. I never wrestled. I thought I knew what an up position was and a down position. Then I found after about the first week of practice, I didn't even know that. But he asked me if I wanted to be a wrestling coach. And I said, "I don't know anything about it." He said, "Don't worry about that. I'll teach you." He said, "What I need is someone that can relate to kids." I found out that the true story, he didn't need anybody that could relate to kids. He needed someone to wrestle with girls. And he won the middle. And he looked down the roster of the school and he said, "That's the dumbest guy on the faculty. It probably worked." And so that's how I got started. It was a life-changing experience. Because at that point, I had always been coaching other sports. Because I was introduced to wrestling at that time in my life. It's interesting, I'm proud to say that up until a year ago, I was the assistant coach with my son at a school in California. So it changed my life because it introduced me to the sport, the wonderful sport of wrestling. And it was truly a life-changing experience. I want to thank you guys for that. And to all of these young men for their hard work, for all of the things that they did, I want to thank them because they gave me the opportunity to stand right here today. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to say it's a great opportunity to come here and visit with my old teammates and pass over old stories. Some of those stories that Coach Sutherland talked about, Coach Patterson talked about, I don't recall any of that. But on a serious note, I guess I was going from my English class going down to my ag class. A teacher by the name of Kimber, he taught ag there at Yuma High School back there. And luckily, Coach Patterson caught up with me as I was going down the hill there, and he says, what do you think about wrestling? I said, I don't know anything about wrestling. He said, well, I tell you what, if you come out for wrestling, I'll make you a state champ. And I said, state champ? He said, yeah, I'll make you a state champ. So that's how it all started. You know, it was one of those things where he said, well, if you come out, remember that, Coach? He says, I'll make you a state champ. So he was a man of his word. That first year was a lot of bumps and bruises, believe it or not. You know, it took me a while to kind of get the hang of things, but after a while, I was able to succeed a little bit. I owe so much for the sport of wrestling because wrestling, as you probably aware, that you're on the mat and you're there with some other person, and it's up to you if you want to win. You know? So, and I was able to do that more times than not. And also, it helped me in my professional career in college, and also when I played on the professional ranks. I think some of the skills that I learned on the wrestling mat, particularly the hand-to-hand combat, the agility, the balance, the dedication that's required to be successful. And a lot of that transferred into other factors in my life. And I owe so much the challenge that Coach Patterson gave me there early on in my career. And also I'd like to thank a lot of the teachers here at Yuma High School during that period of time. One of my favorite teachers, her name is Mrs. Balfour. She taught me math. In fact, when I went to college at Arizona State University, I wanted to become a math instructor. But due to the rigorous practice time of Frank Cush, I know you probably don't know about Frank Cush here, but he was very demanding. And so oftentimes when I got back to my dorm room, I didn't have enough time to spend on mathematics, so I decided to switch over and do college education, college of business major in insurance. So, and I really do appreciate my roots here in Yuma, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to wrestle, and it really helped me a long way. Thank you very much, and it does me to be here.
Billy or Richard could tell the story thoroughly, but I kind of hesitate to tell it. You had it right next to you. But he mentioned that that first year was kind of tough. It was. We had our undefeated dual match record on the line in jeopardy of losing it, and we had curling to wrestle. And we were none of us were very confident that he was going to win, and so we figured it out. Well, he was going to wrestle a really good guy, and we told him, just don't get pinned, and we'll win. And you know, he was struggling, but he didn't get pinned, and we won the dual match, and we congratulated him afterwards, like we had won the other time, like he had won. He didn't. But, it was tough for him. Now, listen to everybody talk, about their memories of Yuma High School and everything. We were fortunate because the standard at Yuma High School was to be the best at that time. And it was the environment during high school. We had a state championship football team. Everybody was always at the top. And so there was a pressure to win, to do your best all the time. And so I think the wrestlers came before us, Jerry Henry, Jerry Young, Goody Fergosa, Jerry Daniels, Tango Joe, numerous. We really stood on their shoulders. It's because of this, how they demanded us to be their best. That's the reason we won. Really won, I believe. And talk about the birthday. Then he was always an encouragement to everybody there at Green Street, you know. So it's the community in Yuma High School that makes this great. That made us great. Tim Rooney couldn't read this, but I am. He wanted to make a tribute to his thoughts here. It says, 1963 Yuma High School wrestling team. In memory of Joe DeCourse, our team captain, Richard Solka, Jim Power, and the 10 team members not attending here today. The 1963 wrestling team is both grateful and honored to be recognized as an inductee into Yuma High School Athletic Hall of Fame. The wrestling team would like to offer special thanks to the selection committee members and to all who supported the team with this distinguished recognition. A special thanks goes to our coach who led the wrestling team to a state championship and to an undefeated season. Coach Patterson, the team thanks you for your hard work, your excellent coaching skills, your coaching dedication, and your belief in the team. Last of all, the wrestling team would like to thank all of you for coming in today's ceremony, to all our teammates who competed in weekly challenge matches. Thank you.
I was asked to come represent my father who passed away a few years ago, Jim Power. I look just like my father. I'm just a few inches taller, so I am his stand-in today. And thank you, gentlemen, for being a friend of my father and teammates of my father in high school.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1963 championship wrestling team inducted into the Yuma High School Athletic Hall of Fame. All right, ladies, gentlemen, come on up. If we could all together, before we go down to the Yuma High School basketball gym, we're going to go straight down to the Yuma High School basketball gym.